week's prophetic trumpet. Oh my gosh, have we got something for you all this week? Because we are we're still talking about a food fight going on. In the last 4 weeks, we've talked about 5 methods now that we have seen food used as a weapon. This is going to be kind of interesting for y'all to be able to consume. I'm interested to also see how this platform supports or rejects this message. But nonetheless, now last week we discussed about the farmland issue, the war on farmers. We backed this up with scripture. Prophetically speaking, I'll review this. In the New Testament, there's 5 instances to where there's a prophetic mentioning of famine. Matthew 24:7, Mark 13:8, Luke 21:11, Revelation 6:8 and 18:8 respectively. Now in the last 3 years, let's kind of set the context as to where we're headed today. In the last 3 years, food has shown itself to be quite the weapon against the people in the United States especially, but it has now also been revealed because of the glory of mass media being exposed as being frauds, that food itself is a weapon being used. And we must ask first, why is there a war on farmers? What do farmers do to anybody? Well, 3 weeks ago, we shared how governments are seizing farmlands illegally, globally. Now, 2 weeks ago, we looked at another weapon that entities are using to their advantage. And last week, we talked about how the wealthy, the uber wealthy, and foreign entities are moving in and claiming farmland. Boy, this just seems kind of interesting as we keep digging into this. So this week, we're going to continue to explore this and as to why it seems as though famine is being beckoned in our time. Now, let's ask the reasons. That's the whole context for today's teaching, is the reasons. Why is all this happening? Why has there been an absolute level of destruction on food manufacturing plants, on people who really, let's just be honest, organizations who deal with protein products from animals, the absolute destruction of over 1 million heads of chicken because of this thing called bird flu that may or may not even exist. It's just, instead of destroying the birds, why don't we give them 2 weeks to flatten the curve? That's what we were offered. I mean, if the PETA people are right, which I'm not saying they are, and animals have rights, why don't they have that right? Nonetheless, where does all this come from? What is the reason behind all this? This acquisition of land and shutting farmers down and taxing them to where they have to sell their land. Where does all this come from? Well, there are many reasons, as you may expect, because nothing is ever that simple anymore. But let's look to a very reliable source, shall we? A very reliable source that, hey, you know, through the years we've seen, beyond the shadow of doubt, we can count on them. Yeah. Okay, this is the United Nations we're talking about here. And from their own website, we can actually dig up articles on famine. So we found one, ironically, in May of 21 that says, quote, and I quote, at a Security Council meeting almost 1 year ago, so this would have been about 2020, excuse me, David Beasley, the executive director of the World Food Program, warned of, quote, famine of biblical proportions, end quote. That's interesting for an organization that has continually refused the knowledge of God. Let's just be honest. They are one of the most unchristian organizations on the face of the earth. I kind of have a... So why are they acknowledging the Bible all of a sudden? Seems kind of strange. Well, fueled by conflict, and this is still his quote, by the way, famine of biblical proportions fueled by conflict, climate extremism, and social economic impact of COVID-19. Oh, there's that word that's going to trip the algorithm, end quote. So the United Nations believes that we are headed towards famine because of conflict, climate extremism, and COVID-19 impacts. That was 3.5 years ago that was posted. Now, let's go to another organization that seems like they know it all, or at least they want to present themselves as such. The World Bank Yeah, worldbank.org. This is from 2018, September 23rd of. You can find this quote, and I quote, from Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft. You may think, what does Microsoft have to do with this? Oh, just you wait. Here's the quote: if we can better predict when and where future famines will occur, we can save lives by responding earlier and more effectively if we use artificial intelligence and machine learning to hold huge promise for forecasting and detecting early signs of food shortages, like, say, crop failures and droughts and natural disasters and conflicts. Microsoft is proud to join Amazon and Google in developing solutions in order to address this humanitarian need. Well, that sounds very amicable to the most common people, but is it genuine? Well, let's dig on, shall we? How about B. Ashley? Now, I don't know B's first name. I don't know if B is male or female. But B. Ashley speaks from social science, or excuse me, soil science, not social science. That would be sociology. No, this is soil science. This is an agricultural website, and it speaks about what we touched upon a short time ago about the Netherlands. You know, the Netherlands. They shut down 3,000 farms, remember that? To reduce nitrogen emissions by 50% by the vaunted year of 2030. Y'all know, if you've been with us long enough, what 2030 represents. It represents the World Economic Forum, because they mandated this all throughout Europe. Mark Rutte, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, is quoted by saying the WEF Food Innovation Hub, an initiative in Africa, South Asia, South America, and Europe, allows regional stakeholders, I want you to catch that, business people, to skill innovations because of this key reserve in food challenges. And I am proud to announce that Netherlands will host the Global Coordination Secretariat of the World Economic Forum and the Food Innovative Health Organizations connecting to all other FIH people. I believe this is important because we will facilitate to create the partnerships we need. So I want you to catch this. Let me interpret this into, well, common language. Netherlands is the second biggest exporter of food in the entire world. I need you to understand that. That's pretty big. So shutting down farms to lessen nitrogen emission creates a vacuum in this problem, and high tech is moving towards control the low of what is available in the vast food supply chain to distribute. I want you to catch that. They're trying to control how much food is available. When the World Economic Forum mandates are accepted, the rights of the people have been violated. And here it seems the Prime Minister has no problem in shutting down farms to create a greater demand for food that, by the way, they are in control of. Okay, loved ones, you've tuned into the Prophetic Forum, and week after week, for now what, 5 weeks, you've heard about the food fight. I've given you some reasons as to why all this is going down. The same reason the elites are taxing you for the needed supply of air and carbon dioxide is the same reason our food supply is being diminished and controlled. That's the bottom line. Food is being used as a weapon against us, and famine is slowly marching towards us, looking to take over us. Now, we've given you reasons, but where does this come from? Is there more to it? Is it just this simplistic about carbon emissions and conflicts? Or is there something deeper? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll continue to dig into the food fight next week. So join us next week for the Prophetic Trumpet. And please do us the favor. Like and share this message. A lot of people aren't even aware as to what's going on and why things are the way they are. They just think, well, it's beyond my control, I'm not really worried about it. But you should be, because this is your food. And these are people that are trying to prohibit the global citizenry to not be able to eat. Pretty diabolical, isn't it? So join us next week, and hey, join us on Saturday as we continue to dig deep into the book of Colossians. Now go forward, y'all, and be the light of the world that Christ has called you to be.